Welcome, friends, to this series of learning Google Cloud databases, and we will continue our data engineering playlist. So, in this particular lecture, we will create a Dataplex. So, basically, we will build a data mesh with the Dataplex. So, this particular video will be dedicated for the Dataplex. So, we need to understand what exactly the Dataplex is. And we will build the data mesh with Dataplex in Google Cloud Platform in this particular video. So stay tuned. So for now, let us understand what Dataplex is. Dataplex is an intelligent data fabric that enables organizations to centrally discover, manage, monitor, and govern their data across data lakes, data warehouses, and data marts to power analytics at scale. Specifically, you can use Dataplex to build a data mesh architecture, which is an organizational and technical approach that decentralizes data ownership among domain data owners. Now, this kind of data mesh you can find in multiple cloud providers. So, they have different names for their specific cloud services, but ultimately, this kind of data mesh you will find everywhere in any cloud. For example, in AWS, you can see lake formation. In IBM Cloud, you will see Versionex data. So in GCP, you are having Dataplex. Now, this Dataplex manages data in a way that doesn't require data movement or duplication. As you add new data assets, Dataplex harvests the metadata for both structured and unstructured data and automatically registers all metadata in a secure, unified metastore. Data and metadata can then be accessed via Google Cloud services such as Data Catalog and BigQuery. So in this particular demo, we will learn how to start building your own data mesh by creating and removing lakes, zones, and assets in Dataplex using the Google Cloud Console. So let's get started. So friends, this is our Google Cloud Console. And what we will do, first and foremost, we will enable this Dataplex API. So let's enable this Dataplex API, and we can find this Dataplex API in the search box, and we already enabled this one. So we will manage this one, and we will first disable and enable these services to make sure that Dataplex API is being reset, and we can able to access the Dataplex API for our own purpose to build the data mesh. All right, so our Dataplex API is enabled now. And now let's go to this Dataplex, and we will see in the search box, we can find this Dataplex, which is an intelligent data fabric for Google Cloud services. Now, if you go there, you can see this particular dashboard. So first and foremost things we will go to this navigation menu, and we will choose analytics and then Dataplex. So if you go to view all products, you will find analytics, and under the analytics, you will have Dataplex. So ultimately, you will be landed up in this particular page itself. Now we are on Dataplex. Now under the Manage Lakes, we will click the Manage. Let's click this Manage, and then we can create a lake. Now, this is saying that get started by creating the data lake to manage your data in storage buckets. You can group lakes based on different business needs and use case. So let's create one lake and we can give the name of this particular lake as sensors, and we will use US East 1 as our location. So US East 1, and we can keep everything as is it is. So basically, let me go through one by one. So display name, you can see like the name of this particular lake, and ID, it's just identify this particular lake. You can give some optional description. Definitely, we need to provide the region as we have mentioned US East 1, and we can provide the label for the data architect to identify the lake uh, for easy access. And metastore is something that we will discuss in details later. So this metastore is required for using data exploration workbench functionally. All right, so we are not going to provide any meta store. Rather, we will just keep it as it is. But when we are going to meta store for storing the metadata, we will definitely create a metadata meta store, and we will provide this particular meta store for these data lake. For now, we don't need any data store, and we can create our first data lake. All right, so the lake is being created. You can see the status is creating. It will take some time. Once it is done, we will be back. All right, our sensors data lake is created. Now we can see the data lake is created on US East 1. Now let's add a zone to our lake. Now we can go to this data lake and we will actually add one zone. Now, so after you create the lake, you need to add the zone to the lake. So zones are subdomains within the lake that you can use to categorize data further. For example, you can categorize the data by stage, usage, or restrictions. There are two types of zones. Now, raw zones contains data in raw format, such as file in cloud storage buckets, and are not subject to strict type checking. And curated zones contains the data that is clean, formatted, and ready for analytics, such as BigQuery tables. Now, in this particular activity, we will create a raw zone for working with files in cloud storage bucket. So, on the Manage tab, now we need to provide the name of this particular zone, and we can say the zone as temperature raw data. And we will use the type as raw zone. Now, as you know that we are having two kinds of zones. One is raw zones and curated zones. So raw zone is basically the raw data that is going to be stored in cloud storage bucket, and data location we can keep it as regional. For multi-regional, definitely you will have more availability of this particular zone, but for our case we can keep it as US East 1, and the US East 1 is the region where our lake is actually created. So we will leave everything as planned, and we can click on create. Now, this zone is being created under this sensors lake. Now, it will take some time. Once it is done, we will be back. All right, so our lake is created. Our zone is created. We have created one zone as called temperature raw data within this data lake. And this raw zone is already created. Now, what we will do, we will actually create or attach an asset to that particular zone. So we can add the asset So asset can be cloud storage bucket because we are going to add the raw zone. So we can create, and these raw zone data set can be BigQuery dataset or storage bucket. We will use storage buckets, and we will keep the data asset name as measurements. And in the measurements, we will actually uh, use the Google Cloud Storage. So we will go to browse, and we will actually create a new bucket for this one. So for example, we can keep one bucket name as something like this, and we will keep as the region as US East 1, because the US East 1 where we are having actually our lake resides, and we will practically create this bucket for us, and we are going to select this particular bucket. We will say done. Now our asset with this cloud storage bucket is actually there. We can continue, and for the discovery setting we will use inherit. Now this inherit is actually discovery settings will be inherited from the parent zone. And if we so basically discovery settings such as include or exclude patterns can be customized per assets, and it can be inherit or it can override. So if you want to override, it will override the parents settings. So we will continue with inherit. So our asset is there. We can now this asset is going to be attached in this particular zone. So till now, what we have done, we have created the data lake, and we have added one raw zone. So our data lake is basically, if you go to these manage, you can see our data lake as sensors is there, and within these sensors, we have one zone that we have already created named as temperature raw data. And within these temperature raw data, we have added this particular asset as under this particular zone. All right, so our asset is attached to this zone. Now, our next part of this activity will be deleting everything. So maybe we can delete the asset as well. But before deleting the data, let us go to this GCS cloud storage bucket, and we will see if we delete how it behaves from this cloud storage. So let's go to these buckets, and we can see this bucket is created where we have, I mean, this particular bucket we created from this Dataplex asset center, and we can see this particular asset is added, and this bucket is also created for us. Now let's delete. Let's go to this manage tab, and we are on uh, lake as sensors. Now we will go to these sensors, and then we will go to this zone, and now we are going to delete this particular asset. Now see, this is basically a storage bucket, and as you can see, the storage bucket is this one, and right now we are going to delete these measurements storage bucket. Now deleting an asset cannot be undone, and it can take a whole to complete. When you delete an asset, the following will happen. All Dataplex related permission will be removed from the storage buckets or BigQuery dataset corresponding to the asset. Discovery will be stopped. The corresponding metadata will be deleted and no longer be accessible. Deleting an asset will not delete the corresponding underlying data. So this is what we are going to test right now. Though we are going to delete this measurement asset, our actual data inside this bucket will not be deleted. So we will see that in a moment. We are going to delete this one, and in a moment it will be deleted. So let it be deleted. It will take some time. All right, so our asset is deleted, but still we can see our bucket is as it is. There is no change in the bucket. So bucket is there, but we just deassociated our bucket from this particular zone. Now let us delete this particular zone as well. So we can uh, click and delete zone. Now, deleting zone will take some time, and whatever associated thing was there as well will be deleted. We can delete the entire lake as well, and we will delete the lake. So now the delete the lake is done as well. Thank you for watching this video. So in this particular video, we saw what exactly the Dataplex is and how easily we can create a data mesh in this Dataplex where we can integrate the cloud storage in some zone. We can create multiple zones and we can put different BigQuery or cloud storage bucket inside that particular zone as assets. And those assets altogether will create a zone and it will work as a data mesh. So in the further lecture, we will see more things, how to tag Dataplex assets, how to implement security in Dataplex, accessing the data quality with Dataplex. So all these things we will see in the coming lectures. So till then, thank you. Goodbye. See you in the next video. Take care.